Okay, so you sent me this article
Uh-huh.
about nonverbal communication and attraction.
Right.
And the title is a little bold, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
A woman who is deeply attracted to you is always doing this in front of you. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's definitely a attention grabbing.
But it makes me think about
Yeah.
all the nonverbal cues.
Yeah,
Like the secret language we all speak,
right.
but we don't realize we're speaking it.
Uh-huh. And that's what makes these nonverbal cues so interesting.
So that's what we're going to deep dive into.
Exactly. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll
Yeah.
be able to decode some of those signals yourself.
Oh, okay. So the article goes right into this idea
Oh, yeah.
of prolonged eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
And it even says, like, it describes it as her gaze meeting yours across the room, as though she's inviting you to see a part of her she doesn't often reveal.
Wow.
That's pretty intense.
It is.
But I mean,
Yeah.
you know, eye contact can be really potent.
Absolutely. Even from across the room, Like, think about it.
Yeah.
When was the last time you felt connected to someone who couldn't even hold your gaze?
Oh, you're so right.
It's like you just know
Yeah.
when someone's not being genuine.
If they're avoiding eye contact.
Exactly.
But I have a question.
Okay.
What about the science behind it?
Oh, yeah. Well, eye contact triggers
What?
a whole bunch of physiological responses.
Wait.
Your heart rate increases, your pupils dilate,
Wow.
and your brain releases all these hormones
Like what?
like oxytocin and dopamine,
So those are,
the chemicals associated with pleasure and bonding.
so it's like
Yeah.
a chemical reaction in our bodies.
Exactly. And this reaction happens whether you realize it or not.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
So like, are you saying
Oh.
the more confident you are when you return the gaze?
The more you can amplify that connection,
Whoa.
it's a feedback loop.
So it's like this
Yeah.
silent conversation just
Yeah.
happening through our eyes.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Nonverbal communication at its finest.
That's amazing.
And it leads right into the next point the article makes
Okay.
about open and engaged body language.
Okay.
Things like leaning in, shoulders facing you,
Yeah.
uncrossed arms.
It's like saying, I'm receptive to you
Exactly.
without actually saying it.
Yeah, it's funny because you see people who do the exact opposite,
Oh, yeah.
and it's so obvious what they mean.
Like if their arms are crossed
They're closed off.
or if they're leaning away,
Like they don't want to be there.
it's so obvious.
It is. But have you ever heard of mirroring?
I think so,
Ooh,
but I'm not sure I really get it.
it's pretty cool, actually.
Right.
We all unconsciously mimic the
Mhm.
postures and gestures and people we like.
Oh, wow.
Like when you and a friend end up
Yeah.
in the same position
Oh, yeah.
without even realizing it.
That happens all the time.
Right.
But wait,
Yeah.
couldn't someone mirror you even if they weren't attracted to you?
Oh, that's a great question.
Like, what if they're
Yeah.
just really empathetic
Yeah.
or good at reading people?
Right.
That makes me think
About what?
context is really important
It's key.
with all of this.
Yeah, and you have to look for clusters of cues.
Okay.
Not just one isolated thing.
So, like, if
Yeah.
they're mirroring your posture
Uh-huh.
and holding your gaze,
Right.
laughing easily.
Now you're getting it.
Oh, right. Because the article mentioned that too.
It did.
The part about the woman laughing even at the bad jokes.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty funny.
It was a cute story.
But, like,
Yeah.
why is shared laughter such a bonding experience?
Well, because when we laugh,
Yeah.
our brains release endorphins,
Those are the
the feel-good chemicals
Yeah, I
that
got-
elevate your mood and
Uh-huh.
reduce stress.
interesting.
It's a positive feedback loop.
Huh?
We enjoy being around people
Mhm.
who make us laugh,
Right.
and laughing together deepens that connection.
So it's not about finding someone funny.
Okay.
It's more like
Yeah.
the shared joy strengthens the bond.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Because I can think of times
Yeah.
I've laughed at jokes
Uh-huh.
I didn't even think were that funny,
I bet.
just because I like the person telling the joke.
That happens all the time. Think about how contagious laughter is.
Oh, yeah.
One person's chuckle
Mm-hmm.
can make a whole room erupt in laughter.
It's true.
It creates a sense of unity.
It really does.
And
It's like those videos
what videos?
of babies laughing.
Oh, yeah.
You can't help but smile.
Totally.
It's so infectious.
That actually reminds me,
What?
the next nonverbal cue the article talks about,
Okay, what is it?
casual physical touch.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But that's also a little tricky.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have to be really careful here because
Why?
the context is super important.
Okay.
What's considered appropriate.
It
Yeah.
really varies between cultures
Oh,
and
right.
even between people.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Like a handshake in a business meeting is different from like
Hi.
a touch on the arm
Yeah.
while you're chatting with a friend.
Right. And that's different from.
You get the picture.
I do.
So the article talks about
Mm.
paying attention to the frequency
Okay.
and duration of touch.
So it's not just about if they touch you or not.
No.
It's about how
Uh-huh.
and how often.
Right. It's those subtle moments,
Like what?
a brush of the hand,
Hmm.
reaching for something,
Right.
a tap on the shoulder,
To emphasize a point.
or a playful nudge.
During a joke,
Yeah, exactly.
it's like a little test
In a way.
to gauge their comfort level.
Right.
And maybe signal you want to be closer to them.
That's a really good point.
So it all comes back to
Personal space.
exactly like they want to bridge that gap,
Yeah.
both physically
Mhm.
and emotionally.
Exactly.
It's like being a detective.
How so?
You have to look for the patterns,
Right.
the clues,
To figure it out.
what's
Right.
really going on.
You're exactly right.
So what else does the article talk about?
Well, I mentioned something that
Mhm.
might surprise you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Curiosity about your life.
Wait, so like just
Yeah.
asking questions?
Wanting to know more about me,
Uh-huh.
doesn't that just mean they're a good listener?
It does.
Not necessarily attracted to me?
But it's more than that.
How?
It's active listening.
Oh, okay.
They don't just wait their turn to speak.
Mm-hmm.
They lean in,
Yeah.
ask follow-up questions.
Okay.
Remember the details you share,
So it's this.
showing a deeper level of investment.
So it's like the difference between how was your weekend
Uh-huh.
and actually wanting to know like what I did,
Mm-hmm.
what I learned,
Right.
what brought me joy.
Exactly.
So it's not just for romantic relationships
Definitely not. It's for any interaction,
where you're trying to connect with someone.
like a job interview
Mm-hmm.
or a first date.
It makes all the difference.
It's funny because the article had this example
Oh, yeah.
of this woman asking this guy about his childhood dreams,
Uh-huh.
like what he wanted to be when he grew up.
Interesting.
And yeah, maybe that's a bit much for a first date,
Maybe.
but I can see how those deeper questions
Yeah.
could make someone feel seen
Uh-huh.
and understood.
Absolutely. It says, like, I see you. I value you. I want to understand your world.
Wow.
Powerful stuff.
It is.
And that actually leads us to another nonverbal cue.
Okay, tell me.
Subtle adjustments to her appearance.
Like what?
Smoothing her dress.
Okay.
Tucking her hair behind her ear.
Mm.
Checking her reflection.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe in a window or something.
But some people might just say, that's
Yeah.
just being vain.
That's what people think. But there's an evolutionary reason for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We instinctively want to look our best
Yeah.
for potential mates.
Like a primal instinct.
Exactly. To attract a partner.
So
Yeah.
suddenly
Yeah.
we care a lot about how we look.
We become hyper aware of it.
Have you ever done that?
What?
Like checked your hair
Oh, well, yeah, of
or
course.
adjusted your outfit
Mm-hmm.
when you see someone attractive?
I think everyone has.
I used to think I was just being self-conscious,
Right.
not trying to attract them.
I'm sure it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
We all want to make a good impression.
But what if they're just
Uh-huh.
really image conscious
Huh?
or have a habit
Yeah.
of fidgeting with their clothes?
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean
That they're attracted to you.
Yeah.
That's why context is so important. You have to look at everything together
all those cues.
to get the full picture.
Okay, so what's the next cue?
Well, the article talks about
Mhm.
nervous energy
Nervous energy.
and fidgeting.
But doesn't that just mean they're anxious or uncomfortable?
A lot of people think that.
Yeah.
But the article actually makes a distinction.
Between.
Anxiety,
Okay.
which leads to avoidance, nervous energy,
Which can be a sign of.
excitement, and
Yeah.
engagement.
That's so interesting.
It is. It's like when someone is blushing or stumbling over their words, maybe
Ah.
playing with their hair.
Those all seem like signs of nervousness.
They are.
So how can you tell the difference?
Look at the other signs.
You mean, like, is there eye contact?
Is their body language open?
Uh,
They laughing.
Are they trying to connect with you?
So if they're fidgeting,
Yeah.
but they're also doing all those other things
It might just mean, but
because of you?
maybe.
So instead of thinking, oh,
Yeah.
they're nervous, I must be doing something wrong. I
Yeah.
should think they're into me. Exactly. That's a much more empowering way to look at it.
And it makes those awkward moments
Yeah.
seem a lot more positive.
It takes the pressure off needing to be perfect.
I like that.
It makes those early stages of attraction feel
Wow.
more human.
More real.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about all these signs
Yeah.
that might suggest someone is attracted to you.
Uh-huh.
But what about the opposite?
What do you mean?
What if they're not interested?
Oh, that's a great question. Or uncomfortable.
How can you tell?
Well, it's kind of like
Oh,
the opposite of all the stuff we've been talking about.
okay.
Instead of eye contact,
Yeah.
they might glance at you quickly
Okay.
or look away completely.
And their body language.
Yeah. Instead of being open, it might be closed off.
Like with their arms crossed.
where they might turn away from you.
Or even move further away.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're putting up a wall.
Between the two of you.
Exactly.
So physically and emotionally.
Uh-huh.
And instead of asking questions
Right.
and really wanting to know about me.
They might give
Yeah.
really short answers
Right.
and not ask any follow-up questions.
So it's like they're saying, I don't really care.
Yeah. Or I'm not interested in this conversation.
So it's not always about
What?
looking for signs that someone is attracted to you.
Right.
Sometimes it's about
Noticing the signs that they're not.
so you know when to back off.
Exactly. It's about reading those signals.
Both the positive and the negative.
Yeah. And respecting those signals.
So we've talked about a lot.
We have.
But I'm curious,
Mhm.
are there any cues
Mm-hmm.
that suggest someone might be feeling uncomfortable?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because we've been talking about
Yeah.
how to know if someone is attracted to you.
Right.
But what if it's the opposite?
Like they want you to back off.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's think about what
Yeah.
makes us feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
Sometimes
Yeah.
when someone gets too close,
Like physically too close?
yeah, they invade our personal space.
And that could feel really
Right.
intrusive.
Yeah, exactly.
So if someone is standing too close
Uh-huh.
or touching you too much,
Especially if you haven't given them permission
that could be a sign.
to back off.
What about eye contact?
Yeah, if someone is staring at you,
Like intensely?
it can feel really,
Could be.
yeah, or intimidating.
So that could be a sign too.
Definitely.
What about if they're talking too much
Okay.
and not letting you get a word in edgewise?
That can be a sign that
Yes.
they're not really interested
In what?
in you.
Or what you have to say.
Right. They just want to talk about themselves.
So it's like they're not
Uh-huh.
respecting your boundaries.
Exactly.
What about if they're
Yeah.
making you feel, I mean, you have to do
Yeah.
things you don't want to do.
That's a huge red flag.
Like if they're pressuring you
To drink more than you want to?
or to go somewhere,
That you don't feel comfortable going.
that's a sign.
You need to get out of there.
So it's important to,
Trust your gut.
if something feels off,
Listen to that feeling.
because it's probably telling you something.
It is. You know, sometimes we ignore those feelings.
Because we don't want to be rude,
Right. Or we don't want to make a scene
but it's okay.
to put your own safety and well-being first.
This is all
It's-
really fascinating
It is, and it's so important.
because it's not just about romantic relationships.
No, it applies to
All kinds of relationships, family,
colleagues,
even strangers.
Think about a
I mean,
signal you're sending,
and the signals you're receiving
so you can navigate those interactions
more effectively.
and build stronger connection.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's like we've unlocked a secret code.
For understanding people.
Exactly.
So to wrap things up,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I would say pay attention
Pay attention to what?
to those nonverbal cues.
The body language,
The tone of voice,
the silences,
everything.
because there's so much information
hidden beneath the surface.
that we can learn from.
If we just pay attention.
It's like we all have this
Or
innate
things.
ability to read people,
We do.
but we've forgotten how to use it,
And this deep dive has
Yeah.
reminded us
to trust our gut
and to become more conscious communicators.
in every aspect of our lives.
Exactly.
That's a great reminder.
And remember,
Yeah.
nonverbal communication is a two-way street.
Oh, I like that.
So while you're observing others,
Yeah.
they're observing you too.
So we need to make sure that we're sending the right signals,
Signals that are aligned with
our intention.
and our values.
That's a great point.
That's about
Creating more authentic
and fulfilling connections.
in all areas of our lives.
Exactly.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
It's been my pleasure.
And listener,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us
On this deep dive
into the fascinating world of nonverbal communication.
and attraction.
Until next time,
Keep observing
keep connecting.
and keep those deep dives coming. Yeah, it can be tricky.
But it's important.
For sure.
So we've talked about all these signs
Mhm.
that someone might be attracted to us.
Right.
But are there signs that they're not?
Oh, absolutely.
Like maybe they're uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
So how can we tell?
Well, sometimes it's about
Yeah.
noticing what they're not doing.
Okay.
Like if they're not making eye contact,
Mm-hmm.
or if their body language is closed off.
Like they've got their arms crossed.
Exactly.
Or they're not really engaging with the conversation
Yeah, they might give short answers.
and not ask any questions back.
Right. Or they might seem distracted.
Not really present.
Uh-huh.
So it's about paying attention
To all those subtle cues.
and being respectful.
Of their signals.
This has been such a fascinating conversation.
I agree.
I feel like I'm already starting to notice
Yeah.
all these nonverbal cues
That's great.
in my own life
Yeah, it's amazing how much we communicate.
without even saying a word.
It really is.
And the best part is, this knowledge isn't just for romantic relationships.
No, not at all.
It's for any kind of relationship.
Exactly.
Whether it's with friends,
Family.
even strangers,
It can help us connect.
on the deeper level.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm,
what's the one key takeaway?
I would say
Yeah.
trust your gut.
Woody Moore.
If something feels off,
Yeah.
there's probably a reason for it.
So, like, pay attention to those feelings.
And don't be afraid to set boundaries if you
Yes.
need to.
It's okay to protect yourself.
I love that.
Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's all about building healthy relationships.
With the people in our lives.
Absolutely.
And that starts with being aware,
of how we're communicating.
both verbally.
And nonverbal.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
Thank you.
I've learned so much.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
And listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of nonverbal communication and attraction. Until next time, keep observing, keep connecting, and keep those deep dives coming.